Shockwaves VideoCast, presented by Bob Nalbandian, host of the Shockwaves/Hard Radio podcast on hardradio.com and the Shockwaves Skull Sessions podcast on roadrunnerrecords.com/Skull Sessions.
Shockwaves VideoCast. I'm here with two members of Thin Lizzy. Ricky Warwick, the vocalist and rhythm guitarist. What's up there, Ricky? And I guess you could say the newest member, Damon Johnson, guitar player.
I am the newest member.
All right. Well, now just to get things straight, because I know a lot of people know, Vivian Campbell was in the band. Of course, he's doing Def Leppard, and Richard Fortress was in the band, and now he's doing Guns N' Roses, of course. You just started with this tour. Was this the first tour?
Yeah, this is my first tour with Lizzy, and I had been friends with Scott for a few years, and I've been playing with Alice Cooper for
that's right,
5 of the last 7 years. So we did a show with Ricky and the guys back in June, and I was talking to Richard, and Richard was saying that he was going to have to go back to Guns N' Roses, and I'll never forget when he said that. I just thought in my head, man, that would be so awesome to be with Lizzy. So, it was a unique set of circumstances that led to, I got a call from the management, and here I am, man. It's just incredible. I'm a lifelong Lizzy fan, so it's
cool.
It's amazing.
Awesome. Well, we're at the Coach House. This is the band's one-off show. They're, of course, on the road with Judas Priest and Black Label Society, and great to see you guys doing a full set tonight. You got, like an hour and a half set, huh?
We've been having it easy the last week. We're just doing 45 minutes, which is hard with Lizzy because, what songs do you cram into the 45 minutes,
Exactly.
I mean, it's hard to pick the set list to fit in that time constraint. But tonight we get to break them all out and do, at least we'll do an hour and 45, I'm sure, tonight, maybe even longer,
Right on.
So it's nice to be able to do that. And that'll be the first time I think we've done the full set with Damon.
Yeah,
tonight, which will be great.
It will be the first time. I've been secretly practicing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you know all the songs. You've been a huge Thin Lizzy fan. Of course, we were just talking with Brother Kane. You covered some Lizzy songs back in the day. So
we did, man. And it's one thing to be, of course, really familiar with the material. I mean, those songs have just been kind of the soundtrack of my life, and but actually committing all the parts to memory is a little bit of a different thing. So I've spent a lot of time with Scott, working out the parts, and he blows my mind, man, because he not only knows his part, but he knows mine as well. Yeah. So, if I ever get turned around, he's there to help me out.
What would you say your guitar style is closest to? Gary Moore, Brian Robertson, or Snowy White?
Wow, what an amazing question. I've never even been asked that, man. I was a big Brian fan.
Yeah, I can interrupt and say I think if I did, you put me, ask me about Damon, I'd say yeah, Robo, definitely.
Well, that's a compliment, man.
It's meant to be.
That's kind of the definitive, to me anyway. The definitive Thin Lizzy sound was Robbo and Scott together.
Well, I think what I was saying to Scott and Damon the other day. Their guitar sound, to me, is the closest of that era that I've heard, and that's no disrespect to Richard or Vivian, who both have great sounds as well, but with Damon and Scotty, it's just, to me, it's like, suddenly it's a classic Lizzy sound, just ripping your face off there, it's great.
All right. Well, the guitar work, I mean, everyone obviously talks about Phil's voice, which was absolutely incredibly unique and definitely a definitive, trademark of the Thin Lizzy sound,
Sure.
But, a lot of people do neglect the guitar playing. The dual guitar playing was really a staple sound of Thin Lizzy too, more so than anything. The harmony solos. I mean, I know you're from the South. A lot of people say, it was a lot of from the Southern roots of, Allman Brothers and back then, and other people say, Wishbone Ash kind of thing. But I think Thin Lizzy truly defined the dual harmony guitars in hard rock and heavy metal music.
Absolutely no question about it, and they obviously made a real commitment to expressing their songs with that. It became kind of a feature,
right,
and everything. But it's interesting you mentioned about Southern rock, because for me, growing up in Alabama and obviously being very influenced by those bands, to me, there was always a very, very common thread between Thin Lizzy and Leonard Skinner and the Allman Brothers, and some of those just very lyrical guitar parts. You know, there was a kindred spirit without a doubt. So I think that's one of the reasons why Lizzy really spoke to me the first time I ever heard them, because I was already a fan of the Southern band.
Well, that's something I actually would like to ask Scott, because I know obviously, you know, Thin Lizzy, the core of the band with Eric Bell, of course, and Brian and Scott, you know, were Irish band, very Irish sounding at that time. And then, you know, of course, when Scott came in with Brian and the dual guitars started, I wonder how was Scott very influenced by the Southern style of the Skinner or
I don't know, man. You know, we haven't really had a chance to talk about a lot of that. I know we have a lot of respect for Dwayne and Dickie and that thing that they certainly trademarked, but Ricky could probably have some.
I think Scott coming in, even though Scott will always tell you it's true, his mother is Irish, she's from Fermanagh, but I don't think he was too aware of the Celtic vibe, having obviously been brought up there and lived there, whereas you know Phil, Brian and Eric were. Sure. So I think Scott, when he came in, he took it, you know, the American with the American rock route a little bit, you know, with the guitar sound and stuff like that, which along with Celtic influence is already there.
Well, I think
we know how great that works, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. So. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the tour. Obviously, you're out with Judas Priest. You've already done a handful of dates here in the States. And I got to say, I think it is so great that Judas Priest invited Thin Lizzy out on the road.
It's an honor. They're just the nicest guys ever. The whole band, the crew, all the Black Label Society guys as well. Everybody, you know, without being cheesy, we're all getting on great. Everybody's hanging out together, having a laugh. Everybody's checking out each other's bands, and it's just a good fun tour to be on. You know, there's no drama. We gets up and plays and does our thing, has a beer afterwards.
Well, I think that's cool. I don't know if people know, Thin Lizzy actually helped Judas Priest out way back in the day. I believe Judas Priest opened several shows for Thin Lizzy. This could have been during the Eric Bell days,
right? Yeah.
And you know, it was like Thin Lizzy, Status Quo, and like Budgie and all those bands. Yeah. And Priest toured together. Priest were kind of like the new bands that came on tour. So it's great to see a band like Priest returning the favor. Very few bands from the '70s. And even the '80s have really helped the bands that have helped them.
Sure, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I still remember.
And it's really cool for Priest to do that.
And they're such gracious guys. I mean, Glenn and Rob, and just they've said how happy they are to have us out there with them, and that makes us feel great, you know. Right. Obviously.
Now I know you did a big show in England, the High Voltage Festival. Yeah. In London, this last, what was it, July, I think?
July, yeah. We did a lot of huge festivals this summer. We did
that. You recorded this one.
We did,
CD,
yeah.
Right?
We did record that one, which I think is already out, you know, which you can get your hands on. And also, I believe VH1 are doing a special on it coming up pretty soon as well.
Oh, really?
They're going to put it out as well.
Oh, wow. So it was filmed for video as well.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
And it was a good day. It was a really good day, really good show. Luckily, the English weather was okay, and yeah, you know, it was a good set, short, but hey, you know.
Right. Very cool. And you did, I know, quite a few festivals. You did that show in Ireland with
Kings of Leon. Yeah, that was well, you know, it was a really special day for Brian and Darren and Scott, because it was 30 years since Lizzy actually headlined the very first Slane Castle.
Right. With
U2 opening for them.
Oh, wow. Man.
So for Brian and Darren and Scotty to go back there 30 years later and play in front of 85,000 people. And I want to be honest with you, Kings of Leon couldn't have been nicer to us.
Yeah.
We were the only real hard rock band on that bill. There was a lot of lo-fi bands and indie bands, which are great. But man, you've got 85,000 Irish people, and you want to go on and stare at your shoes and do the lo-fi stuff. And Lizzy hits the stage with the stuff that you know, the songs that we have. You know, the Boys Are Back and Jailbreak and Waiting for an Elephant, and the place just went ballistic. It was just great. Whiskey. I'll never forget. I mean, it's just one of those things that it's like a dream. It's still even a dream when I talk about it. Playing Whiskey in the Jar and having all those people singing back at you. And it's just the chills was just unbelievable. And you know, it was really sweet. We got there in our sort of porta cabin dressing room. Somebody had drawn an amazing mural of Phil.
Oh wow!
On the cabin, and you know, and you know, Phil's very much with us, and we talk about him a lot. And we always, you know, raise a glass to him every night before we go on. And And you know, we never forget that, you know, without Phil we wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And that was just amazing. And then we got to go all over Europe for the summer and play in some really great countries and some big festivals and with some great bands. ZZ Top. We actually did one with Whitesnake and Priest in Vienna.
That's right. Yeah.
And you know, it was cool. It was really cool.
Very cool. With your addition, and you know, I've said this before, and I've told Adam, it's so great to get, because you remind me, and no disrespect to John Sykes, but I think you've got that really young, almost kind of punkish, I mean, obviously being in the Almighty, and that real upbeat, angry, aggressive, kind of the young, you remind me of a very young Phil Lynott, you know, on stage. Absolutely. And the way you play the rhythm guitar like that, with, you know, it just adds so much to the Thin Lizzy sound. It really does.
Thank you, Bob. That's a big compliment. Appreciate that.
You got it,
very
man.
much.
They could not have,
mean that.
They could not have gotten anyone
Yeah.
better. Ricky's.
Well, we were talking, you know, the other night, actually, about what you're just saying, Bob. Me and Damon were just sitting on the bus, and a lot of people forget Phil was an edgy guy.
Yeah.
He was edgy on stage.
Absolutely.
He was putting a lot of, you know, he was fucking hitting it. You know,
he was a punk in his own way.
Yeah, you know, and
that's why so many of those cats from the punk movement.
Well, that's interesting.
Related to Phil, and they wanted to be, you know, they wanted Phil to be kind of around them, and you know, they had collaboration.
Which was very odd back then in the late 70s, as people might know, punk and hard rock were extreme rivals, but something about Phil, I mean, the Sex Pistols guys were on him. I think he did some stuff with The Damned and other bands.
I think Phil just loved music, and he loved exciting music, and he, you know, he loved anything that was vibrant and had an attitude. I think, you know, from obviously talking to Scott and Brand, Phil would love that, you know, and you know, I think he'd be proud of what we're doing with the songs.
Why do you guys think that is? That was something that related so much to the.
I think Phil was definitely, there was an element of him that was certainly of the streets. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and there was so much intent. Sorry to use such a sophisticated word, but there was so much intent in everything that Phil did. The way he performed the song, the lyrics he wrote, the way he sang them, the way he played his bass, everything. It's just like Ricky has said before. If you want to learn how to be a rock star, watch Phil Lynott more than anybody.
And even the American punk rock guys. I mean, Henry Rollins is obviously a huge Thin Lizzy fan. He's always mentioned that too, and it's, you know, surprised me when I first heard him say that. Well, you know, well, that's, you know. But
Phil has that unique thing where he's very much man of the people, working class hero, but a fully fledged rock star as well. And you know, it's the balance that he has with the two things are just, it's unique to find out. You know, he never lost sight of where he was from. Very proud of his Irish roots. Very proud of who he was and where he was from, and that he never lost sight of that. And that's a great thing.
Let me ask you guys a question. This might be hard for you to answer, but if Phil was alive today in Thin Lizzy in 2011, what direction do you think the band would sound? Would it be, or what? Would it be kind of a takeoff from where, say, Thunder and Lightning left off? Because Thin Lizzy was always so diverse. Every album.
You know, that's a really hard question. I mean,
I know
it's
a
hard
question
because Phil was, because he was into so many different types of music. I mean, you know, right before he passed, obviously he was doing a lot of work with synthesizers and stuff like that. You know, and he was going down that direction. So who knows? I mean, I'd like to think he'd be out there and maybe taking it back to the Black Rose Jailbreak kind of vibe, just because that's my favourite kind of era. But he was always, I think, Phil like pushing the boundaries.
Right. And
I don't think he you know, as Lizzy ever done, would ever make 2 albums that sound the same.
Right.
So I think he'd have kept pushing it. But he's a rocker, so you know.
Yeah.
He always back to his roots.
Right. Have you had a chance to see Thin Lizzy with Gary Moore?
No. I've seen I got this. You know what? I actually shared a stage with Gary about 5 or 6 years ago in Belfast. There was Bob Dylan was headlining, and the bill was myself, Gary Moore, and Bob Dylan, and there was another Irish artist playing.
Is that you as a solo artist?
Solo artist, yeah. So I got to see Gary with a 3-piece band out there. He was fantastic.
Yeah,
he was brilliant.
How was your? Did you talk to him? Did you?
I didn't know, you know, it's one of those things where I'd never met him, and it's funny because we're both from East Belfast, and we're both from like about a mile away from each other. We grew up that close, but it's just, it wasn't really want to go, hey Gary, you know, and it's one of those, I'm very bad at that. I'm actually quite shy when it comes to stuff like that. But I watched the set, and he was in top form. He played great. You know.
I saw the original band right after Gary had just left the tour. They were a 3-piece.
Oh, I heard. Yeah.
They did a handful of shows like
That's
that,
right.
and
Snowy.
I saw them in Huntsville, Alabama.
Wow.
They played with Ted Nugent, and I just remember pulling up to the arena with my friend. You know, like his parents drove us to the concert, and we were going to see Ted Nugent. Well, Thin Lizzy was a surprise guest. So it said it on the sign, you know, with very special guest Thin Lizzy. I was like, oh, cool, that's that band that does that song, Jailbreak. I had no idea what they looked like, nothing. And we were down on the floor, Lizzy comes out, you know, they got the sign and the sirens and Phil, and then Scott comes out just looking like a lord, you know. And it fucking changed my life, man. And I hit the streets the next day looking for some Thin Lizzy, man. And I bought up everything I could get my hands on.
Wow, that's a mix. I know they only did like I think 4 shows as a 3-piece. And you got to see one of them. Yeah,
Scott.
I know they did one in Reno.
Scott
And
and Brian about
this year. I know. Talking to Vivian, he had a very difficult time figuring out the Black Rose song. Is that what's your most difficult song to perform live?
Well, I mean, anybody that's a guitar player has to confess or admit or whatever that Black Rose is it's the bar. You know, it's kind of. I've told Ricky and the guys that my best friend is a drummer from Atlanta, and I sent him a text and said, "Hey, bro, I'm in Thin Lizzy." And he wrote back, "Oh shit, Black Rose." Man, I have to give Richard Fortas a lot of gratitude, man. He was really helpful with a lot of the parts. You know, he had sent me some video, he sent me some audio, and literally walked me through some of those changes. And he saved me a lot of time. There's a couple parts that next time I see Richard, I gotta say, "Hey, bro, I think I figured it out the way Gary plays it right here on this thing." You know, we'll have a little back and forth. But no, man, Black Rose is just. It's almost like a symphony, man. It's so grand. I love the unison part. We're playing together, and the lyrics to that song are just amazing, man. So it just builds to such a crescendo.
Got the rest of the Judas Priest tour. You're going to go from here to it's about a month, 2 months.
Are we finished? Yeah, it's about 8 weeks. 2 months. 2 months. 2 months. Take a break for Christmas and New Year, and then hit the ground running in the UK. January 12th or something. We start rehearsals, and then 19th is the first show in Glasgow.
Wow. Now I know
is the start.
We had talked before. I talked with Adam about there was a possibility that Thin Lizzy could now record some new material in the future. Is that?
Yeah, I mean we're still very much talking about it, and that's the one question that we get asked all the time, which is great because obviously I think people now want to hear what this lineup can do. It's something that we won't rush into it, and I think we've talked about instead of just going, here's a new Thin Lizzy album and throwing that out at the Lizzy fans, which I think personally would be unfair.
Yeah.
I think it'd be, here's a track what do you guys think out there? And if we get the thumbs up and people are digging it, then you give them something, you know, you do something else.
Absolutely.
And, you know, if people don't dig it, there's a hell of a catalogue that we can keep playing.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I love the way you dig deep. I mean, you've done songs that...
yeah, I don't think they done, you know, obviously songs like Wild One, and, you know, what else haven't we played for a while?
Well, you know, we've been talking about a kind of wish list lately of some stuff that we'd love to pull out. I mean, I can get really obscure, man. You know, I wish we'd do like Romeo and the Lonely Girl and some of that stuff off of Fighting. But,
we're working on Scott at the minute, trying to do Gotta Give It Up, man.
Cool.
That's me and Damon's goal for the next
got to give it up.
Next
Got to be in the set for next year.
Nice. Well, great guys, man. It was a pleasure. Ricky Damon.
Always, Bob. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely, guys. All right, check out Thin Lizzy with Judas Priest at a city near you.
Hanging out further in the year 1939. I see Hitler sports wars march right across the virgin land. I see 2 world wars, see bouncing rockets out into space. I foresee a Holocaust, an angel